So, back to Param Guru Mahārāj. Transcendental jealousy. In Prema Vaichitta, jealousy rises to such a degree that although they are already together, still some sort of thought comes within and makes them think that they are far away from each other. These different kinds of separation are found only in the Madhura Ras. Prema Vaichitta is that condition which arises when Krishna is there and Radharani is just nearby. But seeing her own shadow reflected on the body of Krishna, she is so jealous that she thinks that it is another lady. So great pangs of separation come within her and she thinks, what is this? Another lady is there? Her mind revolts. But her friend Lalita is warning her, what are you saying? This is only your own image reflected there. Can't you see it? Then Radharani comes to her consciousness. She particularly notices, oh, it is my own shadow. Then that feeling is immediately gone. This is an example of Prema Vaichitta. These are extremely high transcendental subjects, and although this is not to be discussed in details, this is the nature of divine love in union and separation. Both are interdependent, for one cannot stay without the other. And separation is created willingly to enhance union.
And that is the name of the temple that Guru Mahārāj established. The temple of union and separation in Navadvip.
Vipralamba Milan. Another kind of separation is called pravas. There are two types of pravas. One is when the separation is for a limited time. Another is when one has left the company for a far off place, as when Krishna went to Mathura to attend to other duties. These are the four types of separation pangs between the lover and the beloved. Of course, these transcendental topics are very high and we should not indulge in them carelessly, for if we project mundane characteristics into the higher plane, our future realization will be harmed. Our mundane experience will tend to take us down, so we must proceed with caution. What we conceive of at present is not to be found in the plane of Krishna's pastimes. It is a far higher plane of existence than the realm of our experience. Our vision is adulterated. We have only an alloyed conception of the original thing. Oh, alloyed, you understand? Just a quick pause. So, Anilji, alloyed means admixture into the, if a pure metal, if you add some other thing, then it becomes an alloy. So that's why it says alloyed. Our vision is adulterated. We must keep this in mind, and with this caution we may deal with these things. It is safer to deal with the topics of the separation between Radha and Govinda than with their union. Of course, we must understand that the pain of separation experienced by Radha and Govinda has nothing to do with this plane. And so with this caution, we may talk to some extent about separation. But it will be extremely dangerous for us to discuss or to think of when Radha Govinda and their intimate friends are combined, enjoying with each other's company, because if we deal with the pastimes of Radha and Krishna with any mundane conception, we will create a great offense. So to conceive of the union of Radha and Govinda is more dangerous than cultivating feelings of separation, as Mahaprabhu has shown by his example. In separation from Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is thinking, I can't tolerate even my own life without Krishna. Without his grace, without his company, I can't maintain my undesirable existence. This kind of mood helps us, but still we should not imitate it. Rather, we must respectfully accept it as our highest ideal. This will help us brush aside our filthy, unwanted habits, anarthas. If some tears come, however, we should not think that we have realized the highest stage. That sort of thinking should be avoided. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself says, I don't have a drop of divine love within me, for otherwise, how could I maintain my mundane life? And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas so that the residents of Navadip would be drawn into this high stage of separation through affection's force. His old mother Shachi Devi was crying hopelessly. His young wife Vishnupriya Devi was helplessly passing her days. Mahaprabhu took sannyas to create excitement. Piercing into the hearts of the people the divine love that he came to give. They thought, who was Nimai Pandit? What great benefit did he come to give us? That he left everything made them sympathetic toward him. And for all these reasons, the Lord went to take sannyas. Next section reads, I must run to Vrindavan. After the function of sannyas was finished, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu became mad. I must run to Vrindavan, he thought. I have given up all connection with this world. I have no attraction for it. I must run to Vrindavan to exclusively engage myself in the service of Krishna. In trance, he began to chant a verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam, where Krishna gives a description of sannyas to Uddhava. This verse was spoken by Tridandi Bhikshu, a mendicant. Mahaprabhu quoted this verse thinking, I have accepted this garb of a sannyasi for... Thank you. I have accepted this garb of a sannyasi for this is favorable to my spiritual life. Now, no one in society has any claim over me and I will be able to exclusively devote myself to the service of Krishna. I am going to Vrindavan with no other engagement or connection with anyone. In this way, in ecstatic madness, he began to chant and dance. Keshav Bharati Mahārāj embraced him, and both Guru and disciple joined together, chanting and dancing. At that time, Mahaprabhu spoke the verse of the Brahmana who, in the last stages of his life, took Tridandi sannyas and had to tolerate the torture of society in different forms. He said, Etam sahasthaya paratmanishtam adhyasitam purvatamair madbhi aham tarishyami durantaparam tamo mukundangri nisevayev. The previous great sages have accepted and shown the path of sannyas. I have now accepted that very form of life. Now, leaving everything aside, I shall run toward Vrindavan. There, taking the name of Mukunda Krishna, I shall cross over the ocean of nescience. Crossing over this Maya, I shall reach Vrindavan and fully enter the service of Krishna. The dress of a sannyasi is meant only for an external adjustment, but the real thing is to serve Mukunda. And so with this verse, he suddenly started towards Vrindavan from Katwa near the banks of the Ganga. He entered the jungle thinking, now my duty is to reach Vrindavan as soon as possible, and there in a solitary place I shall sit and chant and sing the name of Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ran towards Vrindavan and entered the jungle before evening. And Nityananda Prabhu, Chandrasekharacharya, Mukunda Datta and Jagdananda pursued him through the jungle. Sometimes, while running, he would suddenly fall on the ground and begin to cry, Krishna, Krishna, getting up suddenly. He began running without any apparent direction to the north, east, west and south.
Prabhuji, can I interrupt you for a moment?
Yes.
Prabhuji, for the benefit of all the audience, including myself, could you just explain one more time on what the Vedas say about taking sannyas in Kali Yuga, and why our mat allows sannyas?
Yeah, that's a good point, Arun Prabhu. In the Vedas now, Vedic authority, I'm saying from Srimad Bhagavatam, that sannyas in Kali Yuga is forbidden. So two things are forbidden. One is sannyas in Kali Yuga, and one is marrying the wife of one's brother. Two things are just prohibited. And like in this, this is another way to look at this is like if the Vedic injunctions are absolutely clear about what is prohibited, who has the authority to change it? So that's like a point to consider, number one. So because Sriman Mahaprabhu, he took sannyas. And he, again, he said this this pratha or this custom of accepting sannyas. As at that time when he took sannyas, there were hardly any Vaishnava sannyasis. He took it from Keshav Bharati Mahārāj, who was a sannyasi of the monist group, Sripada Sankaracharya's line, the Vedantist. So he accepted sannyas from him. And we've gone through this, how he explained what transpired as he was, when he was growing up and he was Nimai Pandit and he started teaching Sanskrit, and then these so-called smarta, high caste people, they started one way or other to disrespect him. And when Sriman Mahaprabhu saw that happen, and so he was pretty heartbroken that I've come to give them the highest thing, and these people are essentially pretty much like they're booking their ticket to hell. So that consideration, and also internal consideration for his own sake, as why he had descended, to show also this fact that these rasas, or this spiritual ecstasy. So what we're talking about here is essentially spiritual ecstasy, the various gradations of spiritual ecstasy. Now people, not to take, he wanted to prevent people from taking advantage of this and indulging in mundane affairs as sahajiyas, and then showing it as something of transcendence. So to completely draw that complete distinction between prakrita versus aprakrita, which is kind of like 360 degree difference. appears the same, but it's completely different. So to draw that, he took sannyas while relishing these rasas to completely, very clearly and plainly show and exemplify that this has nothing to do with the mundane plane. So these are the various considerations that are there that he himself considered, and then he went and took sannyas, and then his pastimes happened. Yes.
Correct me if I'm wrong. So as you rightly said, Srimad Mahaprabhu took sannyas to prevent all the people who were getting into and earning a lot of offense, and thus, as you say, into a very adogati position by continued criticism and so on, for their own benefit, so that they can not accrue the negativity, and secondly, after taking sannyas, so that they can be attracted in a positive way to listen and follow that path. So that definitely is very beautiful. The first thing that you mentioned about what is prohibited in Kali Yuga, I wanted to clarify. The second one you clearly indicated, sannyas is prohibited. And the first one that you mentioned is marrying the wife of a brother. And that is, I presume, if the brother dies, then there was a tradition where another brother could marry the wife of the dead brother.
Correct.
So that is prohibited, and it's an interesting thing that the Jewish people have a similar tradition too. So in Kali Yuga that is prohibited, and as so appropriately explained, taking sannyas is prohibited by the scriptures. And who can overturn the sannyas? Swayam Bhagavan, the giver of the scripture. He is Swarat. He can at his will change his stance or make exceptions. And so that is another indication of the position of Srimad Mahaprabhu. And because Srimad Mahaprabhu took the position to break that and re-establish a new standard, and that is the reason we have the benefit of having such high devotees, our Guru work, who follow the same precepts taught by Srimad Mahaprabhu.
Yes, please.
I also heard Gurudev talk about this subject, and he said that the sannyas that's restricted in Kali Yuga, the one that's being described as karma sannyas, which is different than Vaishnava sannyas. So he was making that distinction. That Vaishnava sannyas is a vow, you're taking a vow. And karma sannyas, what is being restricted, is something completely different.
So our vairagya is called yukta vairagya. Nirvanda Krishna sambandhe yuktam vairagyam uchyate. So that's now getting into the functionality of what kind of sannyas that is. Karma sannyas is not or keeping away from any activity. That's karma sannyas. But yukta vairagya is different. So again, Srila Guru Mahārāj, he just mentioned that sannyasi, just changing your dress, is an external adjustment. The central idea is to serve Mukunda. So in any case, whatever the dress may be, whatever vairagya may be, the central idea is to serve Mukunda. If that is intact and that is the focus, then sannyas or any other ashram or varna is all justified. If that is not the central criteria, then there is a problem. So that is our line. And so the kind of renunciation that is shown by even the Dev-Goswāmīs, if you see some of them, it is not of the human plane. Some of the examples that even the Dev-Goswāmīs have left for us, for renunciants, it's just impossible. Like Das Goswami, what he used to live on is just impossible for any human being to subsist and survive on. But they exemplify the heights of renunciation, what kind of detachment one can have. So there are these extreme examples, and in its history, it's not something imaginary. So it's recorded, and we have access to it. But everything one must remember is for that central reason: service to the center. Anilji, is that satisfactory?
Yes, sir.
Because otherwise, what is the use of renunciation? In India, everyone bows down to sannyasis. They don't know what is it karma sannyasi or yukta vairagya sannyasi. They just see the dress and they bow down.
It has to be for the ultimate, right?
Mahaprabhu, Sriman Mahaprabhu rejected all external designations, all varnas, all ashrams. Naam vipro nacha narapatir napi vaishyo na shudro. Naam varni nacha grahapatir no vanasto yatirva. किंतु प्रोद्यन निखिल परमानंद पूर्णामृतब्धेर गोपी भर्तु पद कमलयोर दास दासानुदास. So when Param Guru Mahārāj explains, when he puts this verse, he explains what to extract from this. Shuddha ahankar, the real self. Shuddha ahankar, the real ego expressing itself. Very important. Like what to extract from this verse, everyone knows. But what to extract from it? Parichay. This is the parichay of the Shuddha Ahankar. So Sriman Mahaprabhu is echoing his divine sentiment at that time is the parichay of Shuddha Ahankar. Yes. Yes, Anandji.
So the question which is coming in my mind, maybe it is very, I don't know whether it is good for this forum, but this is the doubt, right, which is coming up, right? So when that ultimate right, Krishna was here, right, in the form of Krishna, and he was talking about that in Mahabharata, and he was preaching, right? So in one of the slokas in the Gita, it is written that this Varnashram is created by me and no one can deny it. Okay, because it is something which is created by me. Now, when the same ultimate is here as Sriman Mahaprabhu, he's actually contradicting it. Basically, he's rejecting it. I don't want that, right? So So you see that, right? So basically, at one point, he said that no one can deny its existence because it is created by me.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Now, when he's coming back as Mahaprabhu, he himself is saying that, okay, I don't want it. I am rejecting it, right? So, can you explain
Sure.
why there are two
Sure.
north and south here, right?
Absolutely. That's a very nice point, because this is natural to happen. Like, well, he's saying that this is Varnashram is, I have created Chatur Varnam Maya system. And then he comes and he then, like in this verse, he's rejecting all of it.
Right, right.
So, if you see, when we talk about, you must have this term that we use, and we have it from our masters, is called gradation. You familiar with gradation? Just the term gradation. Gradation means level after level after level. Justice, and then mercy over justice. You're familiar with this because we use these terms very often as we're going through the divine teachings. So, first he says in Bhagavad Gita, he talks about Karma Yoga. Then he says Karma Yoga should culminate in Gyan. Right? And then Gyan should culminate in Bhakti. Because Bhakti, he says, is the highest. Right? Anilji? Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam. This is Bhakti he's explaining. Raj Vidya Raj Guhyam Pavitram Idam Uttamam Pratyaksha Avagamam Dharmayam Susukham Kartum Abhyayam. Now, but now when you're reading about this Bhakti stage, does that mean that you skip over the karma, or you don't look at it? So this is an example, just a rough example of gradation. Till such time, for example, we are, and you can say it as a fact also, that till such time that we are within the purview of material nature, we are not liberated. We have to follow the injunctions, Vedic injunctions. We cannot just say that because I know the Shuddha Ahankar Parichay, I'm going to ignore the Vedic injunctions and I will start doing what the Mahajans are doing. We cannot do that. But that doesn't mean that there is not a stage higher than Varnashram. So, the revelation, as it goes deeper, we are revealed of the various stages that we have no clue about while we are following Varnashram. But we must follow Varnashram and follow it for the right reasons, not just for the sake of following it. Right reason mane sam siddhir haritojanam. Again, the idea of Varnashram is what? Service to the center. So that central theme is running right from Karma Yoga all the way up to Vrindavan, Aprakrita. That service thread is running from bottom to top. That you catch. These various graded stages, one can keep passing, but one should not be enamored by them, or one should not ignore them also altogether. Does that make sense? No.
Yes, sir.
So, Varnashram, when we are following, we are in Varnashram system, and we know let's say I know I'm not liberated, hardly, I'm just being able to follow here and there. So now I shall try and do my duty to the best of my ability within the purview of where I am at in terms of varna, in terms of ashram. I shall execute my duties. I shall look after family, I shall look after this, and everything else that comes with it. So what that will do is that must propel me in a certain direction. It must have a purifying effect. It must elevate me to the next level. That is progressive immortality. What does progressive immortality mean? Guru Mahārāj will explain in this, we'll go through it. There are levels of jnana. So, starting with, like I said, prakrita, paroksha, aparoksha, adhoksha, then aprakrita. So you can see these levels of jnana are also, there are so many. So till such time that we are under the purview of material nature, we are not liberated. We are supposed to honor the Vedas, the Vedic injunctions, our prescribed duties, and we must perform them. And what is the prescribed duty? Hari Kirtan. What is that verse that Śrīla Saraswati has? Mātal Harijan Kirtan Range Pujal Ragapat Gaurav Bhange. So this is what it means, that the Harijans, the ones who are at that stage, they will perform their higher bhajan or kirtan. This was changed, it was Vishay Range, but anyways, Mātal Harijan Kirtan Range Pujal Ragapat Gaurav Bhange. Gaurav Bhange means that we will honor the injunctions of the Vedas from our position. And we will never consider us to be them, how they perform their Ananya Bhajan. Harijan, the real sadhus, the real Mahājans. But from our stage, we will realize, okay, I'm in Varnashram, I will stay in Varnashram, that's okay. I will adjust. Right? My adjustment will be, how can I serve the Lord? That is my adjustment. I may be outside Varnashram, I may be within Varnashram, I may be wherever. If I have to adjust myself and my life slowly, if I have a family, the whole family can engage in service. It is so beautiful. If I am by myself, I will by myself do it. I will try and engage my neighbors. And if nothing else, just myself. So, but the idea is, wherever one may be, from that point, it's not like, okay, now, till now, what I have done is all wrong, so I have to go back to the start line. No, wherever you are, from that point on, one starts. That thread one catches of service. And then one can go through all these different stages. We are told like that. So he is saying over there, for the general masses, for the general public, that you must understand Varnashram is there, and you cannot escape it, which is true. At the same time, someone at that level of Shuddha Ahankar, they don't need to associate themselves with any of these designations, because they are all external. In Rai Ramananda Samvad, he explains, well, this is external. Go deeper. That means go to the next level. So there are various levels. So This is how theism is developing. Now, what we are studying, like what we were studying, was divine ecstasy of the highest level. But it sounds, between the lover and the beloved and all that, sounds like, we could kind of confuse it with mundane affairs. It's very easy. The mind is like that. So to make sure that we do not do that, there are these cautionary statements, and our teachers are giving this every now and then, like, please, just be cautious. In the 10th canto, for example, 10th canto, the Sahajiyas love the 10th canto. They come to the 10th canto and, let's get to, in the Bhagavad Saptah, that is the biggest thing. But there is one verse before all of this happens, before the rasa dance and all of that. There is vikriditam brajvadhu idam cha Vishnu. So suddenly everyone is prepared for, oh, Krishna is going to come and there's going to be this and that. Suddenly, what happens? There is a cautionary thing that what you think is mundane, guess what? It's Vishnu. So, one stands back like, well, this can't be normal, because Vishnu people know, as even Vishnu or Narayan, the four-handed, majestic form, awe and reverence, then that caution kind of settles in, that this is not prakrita bhav. So like that, we are again and again cautioned at every step so that we can stay grounded, never thinking that we are like part of it, or we have reached the ultimate stage, because that is detrimental to our growth. One reason is because this whole our progression is step by step, and it's towards immortality. If we think that we've reached the ultimate stage, then where is our growth? Then we become static. So Param Guru Mahārāj went to the extent of saying that you're all students and I'm also a student. Can you believe that? And he said that he actually meant it from the bottom of his heart, like, oh, I'm a student. Oh, thank you. So the idea being that in this we try and engage in service, we try more and more dedication, we try to dive deep into reality. But as far as when it comes inward looking, then we only analyze to see the things that we need correction or things that are not okay so that we can get better. And never have that feeling of relaxation or comfort that, oh, I've achieved all that there is to achieve. So that is progressive immortality to appreciate. Is that fair, Anilji? Does that somehow harmonize? Why in one level he is saying that this is varnashram is something that you cannot escape, and then the other one at a higher stage he's saying when your false ego has been washed clean, then you don't need to adhere to the countless injunctions of the Vedas.
Yes, sir. Very well explained, right? So I think this last two lines which you just mentioned, that is a very clear summary, because what I also conclude is that when we are talking about varnashram, right, It's basically a kind of at a physical nature, right? But when you are going above them, you are anyway out of this physical thing, so you don't need to adhere it, right? So that is what the summary is.
Exactly.
And that is how it is harmonizing, right? And it is not a north and south case. It's basically it's a different level, right? So
yes. Now you have caught that thread. Another thing I'll tell you is in Bhagavad Gita, what he says about the Vedas and the injunction of the Vedas is Tre Gunya Vishaya Veda. You remember that? He says Tre Gunya Vishaya Veda Nistre Gunya Bhavarjuna. What does that mean? He says
only for the physical perspective of to deal with the physical perspective.
For the three gunas, till such time that you are within that trishul, that three gunas. Traigunya Vishaya Veda. Vedas are only, their jurisdiction is only till the three gunas. It's not beyond. But in Bhagavad Gita, what he is saying is, although that explanation is important, but Nistre Gunya Bhavarjuna, those who have completely understood, then they need to transcend Nistre Gunya Bhavarjuna. Nirdanda Nitya Sattastav. Nirdanda. Be situated in non-duality, pure consciousness. That is the real self. Right? Then he says, Vedasya Sarvair Aham Eva Vedya. He's revealing that why I have the Vedas. Vedasya Sarvair Aham Eva Vedya is to understand Krishna. Aham Eva Vedya. And Vedanta Krit Veda Vedai Vichaham. So I am the one who has Krid, means who has put these Vedas together, and Ved Vid Aiv means Ved Vid means the real knower of the Vedas is who? Him. And Ev, by adding Ev, he is saying that exclusivity, only me. And we say Ved with Ev Chaham means no one else knows. You cannot say about him and 20 others, they also know. No, Ved with Ev Chaham. When we say Kirtanad Ev Krishnasya. You remember the Kirtanad Ev Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajit. Kalera dosh nidhe rajan astya eko mahan guna. And what is that ek mahan gun? Kirtanadev Krishnasya. Now kirtan of who? Krishna, the holy name of Krishna, not anyone else. Ev is that exclusivity.
Yeah.
Kirtanadev Krishnasya Mukta Sangha Param Vrajit. So Ved Vedev Chaham, one who understands this, then they understand Krishna is all in all. Vedas were to know him. Although there is no direct mention or declaration as such in the Vedas, but the real knowers of the Vedas will come to this conclusion. And they will not try to simply stay within the three modes. Why should they try to stay in the three modes and navigate through that entire quagmire of material existence? Why and then do what? And then go moksha? No. To the positive plane of dedication, of service, which we caught that thread from the start. Samsiddhir haritoshanam, right from the beginning. Right? So that is how this gradation works. I've explained it briefly, but with some examples. And from Bhagavad Gita, maybe from Bhagavatam. But that is how it works. Yes, Arun Prabhu, sorry.
Oh no, Prabhuji, that was fantastic. I'm just trying to put my funny brain from just another angle. So in Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna really starts with Karma Yoga, which is even one who is not established properly. Here is the karma, and this is what you should do. And it is in Karma Yoga then where he is saying that I am the establisher of the four varnas. And as rightly said by Prabhuji, the focus of all the four varna is Haritoshna. That is the center. Once somebody is now properly situated in Karma Yoga and is now zeroed in, then Haritoshnam, that then gives rise to the next yoga, which is Bhakti Yoga. And in Bhagavad Gita, he himself says, one who is my devotee. Do understand that overtly, if he seems to be acting contrary to social norms, don't misidentify him. Right? So now that really is saying once you're zeroed in and Haritoshanam, and that allows you that next gradation of Bhakti Yoga. So that is within Bhagavad Gita, the way I understood Prabhuji. But in the pastimes of Srimad Mahaprabhu, who is the same self Krishna, Mahaprabhu is giving out of his own sweet will the doors to Prema Bhakti. And thus, contrary to the yogas and the basis for the Karma Yoga, which is the Vedas, and contrary to the initial instructions, which is again, once somebody is in a middle class, yes, some understanding may, for simplicity are some rules have been put, but once somebody gets to the college level, then there are different standards of performance there, and that is the reason, he gives freely out of his own sweet will, Harinam, Mahamantra. Though the chanting of the name of the Lord is a very preserved rite by the Vedic subsystems, only reserved for it requires some qualification. But what can we say? If Bhagwan Swayam wants to be sovereign, he can give himself for free, and that is what is happening. So we must say that Sri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the one whose instructions are meant for those people who are zeroed in on Haritoshnam and giving that higher gradation of Prema Bhakti. And in that, he is giving left and right out of his own causeless mercy. Can we fault him? No, because he is the sovereign. And yet, in terms of our understanding, we need to understand, as long as everything is zeroed in for Haritoshnam, it is only progressive benefit for those people who are on the line trying to follow his instruction. That's the way I understood Jairam Prabhu. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I am no one to correct you, but yes, Sriman Mahaprabhu is giving his name, Nijanam Kuridana. So he's giving his own name. And giving that highest Ujjala Rasa. So, I mean, these are topics again that we have to be cautious about, but Madhurya Rasa, Ujjala Rasa, Adi Rasa, that's also called Shringar, Adi Rasa. He's giving that freely. It's unimaginable, unthinkable. Also peculiar about Sriman Mahaprabhu's descent and what he's doing is in his Leela, if we go through Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it parallels Lord Krishna and his Madhurya Leela and his pastimes. But you really cannot make any offenses following Sriman Mahaprabhu. Whereas if you try to do Bhagavatam and you do the Rasa Leela, so there can be so many, very easily one can have so many offenses. So Sriman Mahaprabhu is his Leela as is presented by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Mahārāj. He has tried to protect the believers. So if one reads that and if one follows that and relishes Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it can give you the highest benefit and put you in Krishna Leela. Not the other way around. The other way around is very dangerous. If you go to Bhagavatam and if you go through that, it's not the same. So this has the giver of Bhagavatam also. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Mahārāj. In Chaitanya Charitamrita, not just Bhagavatam is contained therein, but also the giver of Bhagavatam is there. Gauranga Mahaprabhu. So you get the maximum benefit. And he's distributing that highest. What Radha Govinda are relishing, they are distributing to commoners like myself. How is it like that king, the king of kings, with his supreme ecstatic potency, the highest substance with his ecstatic potency is distributing that highest and the most coveted dish that he relishes to me and other persons, fallen persons of this age. Why and how will it not melt any average heart? Explain to me. It can melt stones. It does melt stones. That dish that the king, supreme king, relishes himself, he's coming down as a mendicant and he's offering it to everyone. Like, here, you taste it. Here, take it. Take it. And the price you have to pay? Desperation. Some desperation. I'm saying desperation. It's lolyam, but you have to be a little desperate to get it. So that is what is being made available to us. And he himself, as he's distributing, is the highest expression of theism. That is the mysticism of Chaitanya Leela. His ecstatic kirtan, Param Guru Mahārāj, that's how he explains it, very poetic. Highest expression of theism. So the more attention we give, the more energy, resources we invest in at his lotus feet, it's going to take us to that highest plane. Because that is his plan. Even Bhagavad Gita, if you see, why was it spoken? It was spoken on a battlefield, on such hard conditions, and blood had to be spilled and all that. But what was the one single most fundamental underlying reason? If you try to find that and if you try to put your finger on it, then you will see that one verse that is manmana bhav madbhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru mame veshasi satyam te pratijane priyosi me. What does it say? Please accept this as truth. Satyam te pratijane. Please. It's almost, he is begging us. Why? Priyosime, because you are dear to me. Man mana bhav mad bhakto madhyaji mam namaskuru. And why do I tell you this? Out of affection. Preet. Priyosime, because you are very dear to me. That is the single most important reason for him delivering Srimad Bhagavad Gita. So the real readers will get to that point. Don't you think, Anilji? Like why, what was the reason for him to speak all of this? Some, a little less than 700 verses, but he spoke about this yoga, that yoga, so many things, accommodating all, giving his opinion, and then saying Sabyasachi, do this, do that. But then what is the underlying single most important condition or reason for Bhagavad Gita to be spoken? Very simple. Divine love.
Prabhuji, process check.
Yeah. When he says, Sarva dharmana pratyajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. The real word to use over there is gaccha. Buddham sharanam gacchami. You should have, ordinarily, if some big personality is saying that verse, then they would say mam ekam sharanam gaccha. But he uses what? Vraja. So I'm going to leave it at that, Anilji. Please try and investigate why he said Vraja and not Gaccha. And you will be again pleasantly surprised. So I apologize for, pardon my offenses and taking up the panel's time, and let me gather the troops here. Give me a second. We are still in Kartik, so there will be Damodar Ashtakam. Give me a second. ego.
So in this Namamishwaram, we will simply follow, no repetition, right?
Correct.
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Yashoda Viyolukhalabdavamanam Paramrishtamatyan Tatoduta Gopya Rudantam Muhurnetra Yugmam Nijantam Karamboja Yugmen Satankanitram Muhushvasakamba Trirekanka Sthitagrevam Damodaram Bhakti Baddham Iti Driksalila Bherananda Kunde Swagosham Nimajantam Akhyapayantam Tadiyashitageshu Bhakterjitatvam Tadiyashitageshu Bhakterjitatvam Puna Prematastam Shattavritti Vande Varam Deva Moksham Na Mokshavadim Va Nachanyam Dreham Vareshadapiha Idam Deva Purnatha Gopala Balam Sadame Manasya Virashtam Kemanye Idante Mukham Bojam Avyakta Nile Vritam Kuntale Snegda Rakṣhak Gopya Idante Mushubitam Bimba Rakta Dharam Me Manasya Virashtam Alam Lakshelabe Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasiddha Prabhu Dukha Jalabdi Magnam Kripa Drishti Vrishati Dinam Batanu Ganesha Mamagya Medhe Akshidresha Kuheratmaja Baddha Murteva Yada Taya Mochita Bhakti Bhajau Kritaucha Tatha Prema Bhakti Swakame Prayacha Tatha Prema Bhakti Swakame Prayacha Namokshe Graho Mesti Damodareha Namaste Sudamne Spuradipti Damne Tvadiyo Darayata Vishwasadamne Namo Radhikaya Tvadiyaya Priyaya Namo Radhikaya Tvadiyaya Priyaya Namo Nantalilaya Devaya Tobhyam Namamishwaram Sachidananda Rupam Lasat Kundalam Gokule Brajamanam Hari Haraya Namah Krishnaya Davaya Namaha
Hari Haraya Namah Krishnaya Davaya Namaha
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha
Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namaha
Gopal Govindaram Shri Madhusudan
Gopala Govindaram Shri Madhusudan
Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan
Giridhari Gopinatha Madana Mohan
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra
Shri Chaitanya Nityananda Shri Advaita Chandra
Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda
Jaya Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath
जय रूपा सनातन भक्त रघुनाथ
श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
श्री जीवा गोपाल भट्ट दास रघुनाथ
इच्छाय गोसाई कोरी चरण वंदन
ईश्वराय गोसाई करी चरण वंदन
जहाँ होते विघ्न नाश विष्ट पुराण
जहाँ होते विघ्न नाश विष्ट पुराण
इच्छाय गोसाई जन मोहि तारा दास
ईश्वराय गोसाई जरा मुहि तारा दास
सबरा पद रेणु मोरा पंचग्रास
सबरा पद रेणु मोरा पंचग्रास
तेरा चरण से विभक्ता सने बास
तेरे चरण से विभक्त सने बास
जनम मोरा अभिलाष
जनम मोरा अभिलाष
इच्छाय गोसाई जबे ब्रज कुलवास
ईशाय गोसाई जबे ब्रज कुलवास
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण नित्य लीला कोरिला प्रकाश
श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण नित्य लीला कोरिला प्रकाश
आनंद बोलो हरि भज वृंदावन
आनंद बल हरि भज वृंदावन
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पद मजैया मान
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पद मजैया मान
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पाद पद्मा कोरियास
श्री गुरु वैष्णव पाद पद्मा कोरियास
हरि नाम संकीर्तन कहे नरोत्तम दास
हरि नाम संकीर्तन कहे नरोत्तम दास
हरि हराय नमः कृष्णाय यादवाय नमः
हरि नमः कृष्ण यादवाय नमः
यादवाय माधवाय केशवाय नमः
माधवाय केशवाय नमः
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे
Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
हरे राम 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 हरे हरे
Hare Rama,
नित्य गौरा हरि बोल नित्य गौरा हरि बोल
Hare
जय जय गुरुदेव गुरुदेव जय जय गुरुदेव जय गौरंगा सुंदर जय गौरंगा सुंदर जय गौरंगा सुंदर जय गौरंगा सुंदर
जय गौरंग सुंदर की जय. Okay, Anika ji, please go ahead.
Jai Saprika Shri Shri Guru Granga Gandhar Govind Shrindar Giridhari Gokula Ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Om Vishnu Patmaraksha Paramachakara Briya Asta Saraswati Shri Srimad Bhakti Sundar Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj Ki Jai. Om Vishnu Padmaksha Parvarchakravri Asir Sati Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakṣhak Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj ki jai. Om Vishnu Padmaksha Parvarchakravri Asir Sati Shri Srimad Bhakti Rakṣhak ki jai. Om Vishnu Padmaksha Daswabji Mahārāj ki jai. Om Vishnu Padmaksha Chachi Bhakti Noda Thakur ki jai. Om Vishnu Padmaksha Jagannath Babji Mahārāj ki jai. Śrīla Varga ki jai. Namaskar Haridas Thakur ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Shri Bhakdeva Vidibhushan ki jai. Shri Vishwanath Thakur ki jai. Shri Murtama Shamandir Srinivasa Shari ki jai. Shri Ravindra Thakur ki jai. Shri Krishna Das Kaviraj ki jai. Saprasada Shri Nityananda Prabhu ki jai. Saprasada Shriman Mahaprabhu ki jai. Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamkund Radha Kundagi Govardhan ki jai. Shri Lakshmi Varadeva ki jai. So the Bhakti Vigna Vinashar Shri Nrsimha Deva ki jai. Bhakti Prabhupada Mahārāj ki jai. Tulsi Maharani ki jai. Ganga Jamna ji ki jai. Bhakti Bhaktanam Chaitanya Charitamrita ki jai.
Jai.
Vishnu Vaishnava Raja Sabha ki jai. Bhakti Raja Shri Chaitanya Mahat ki jai. Radhis Akamat ki jai. Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Mat ki jai. Vishwa Pabiyat Radhis Akamat ki jai. Shri Damayapur ki jai. Shri Dhamarvadeep ki jai. Shri Narayanpur Satam Dham ki jai. Baldev Thakur Jagannath ji ki jai. Shri Govind Kunda ki jai. Shri Shri Gangaraj ji ki jai. Amrita Vaishnava Mandal ki jai. Amrita Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Harinam Sankirtan ki jai. Nitya Gopinande Hari
Hari Bol. Jai Shri Anika ji, Preeti ji, Bikram ji and family ki jai. Our divine panelist Shripad Arun Krishna Prabhu ki jai. Our divine panelist Shripad Chinmay Dev Prabhu ki jai. Our divine guest Anil ji ki jai. And all our Facebook, let's see here, Madhav Prabhu ki jai. Indu Rekha ji ki jai. Stanley ji ki jai. Ananta Govinda Prabhu ki jai. Dandat Pranam Ananta Govinda Prabhu, long time. Ranga Devi Dasi ji ki jai. And everyone else, please pardon our offenses and continue to bless us with your association. Aap sab ki jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Srila Bhakti Sundar Govinda Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Rakṣhak Śrīdhar Dev-Goswāmī Mahārāj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada ki jai. Vishwarenya Srila A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. Jai Shri Chaitanya Saraswat Math Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Nirmal Acharya Mahārāj ki jai. Jai Srila Bhakti Pavan Janardhan Mahārāj ki jai. Jai Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Nitai Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol.
Jaran Prabhu ki jai for this wonderful church, and Abadi ki jai. Kirtan group ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Okay.